Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are in the world today. My name is Maryam, and I am the host of television. And today I have another fantastic guest. And as you know, I always say I bring on the best guests. So today I have another best guest. And this sister, I can't wait to hear what she has to say about the stuff that we've been going through here in Newark, you know. So Daphne, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself and let the audience know you're a licensed realtor, and just let the audience know what you do.
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, and good day wherever you are in the world. My name is Daphne Turner. I am a licensed realtor, a lifetime resident of the city of Newark, also a retired employee from the city of Newark, 32 years running. And I currently sell real estate in the city of Newark for Option 1 Realty. We are a local boutique real estate agency right here on Washington Street in Newark. So we're local, we're easy to access, and we sell everything. We sell land, we sell properties, we sell commercial. We also do rentals as well. So we are local here, and we're available for anyone who has a need for housing, they want to purchase, they want to do first-time buyer. As a realtor myself, one-stop shopping. You come to me, I have everybody. I have the lender, I have the seller, I have the insurance companies. Everything you need to get a purchase done is one-stop shopping.
Great. Okay, that's so good to know. So now you know the issues that we have going on here in Newark. We've got the homeless issue.
Yes.
We have the issue with tenants being evicted.
Yes.
You know, and we have so many slumlords here in the city of Newark. So
yes.
What is your opinion about what's going on today?
Well, one of the things that is seriously affecting the homelessness crisis, and I call it a crisis, here in the city of Newark, is that the regulatory systems that run the landlord-tenant judicial system in itself is flawed. We have a lot of situations where we have tenants who cannot afford to pay their rent in the general market. If they're trying to rent properties in the general market. Right. Because those things happen, now you have a situation where the judicial system that runs and arbitrates the landlord-tenant court system, they're very slow to act against tenants who can't pay the rent. Therefore, you have tenants who can afford to pay the rent, who are good tenants, who pay their rent, who don't damage the property. And they're looking for housing. They're standing up against the window with their nose pressed against the glass. They can't get in because the bad tenant is holding up the space, because the landlord can't get the bad tenant out. So now what's happening is, when you talk to people about the issue of the homelessness crisis, they're looking at it from the position of the tenant who's already housed and they cannot afford to stay where they're housed. If we act against them, they're going to become homeless. But no one's looking at it from the position of the person who's not housed and who does have the income, who does have the experience as a tenant, who's going to do well as a tenant. They're the ones who are going to continue to be displaced. No one's looking at their homelessness issue because they can't get in. So what needs to happen is that we need to start looking at some judicial changes, some legislative changes to this system, which would allow landlords to easily remove bad tenants so that good tenants can be placed into these properties. One of the things that I've been speaking to some people down at Newark Housing about, and we're trying to schedule, all the cold weather kind of stopped us a little bit. We're trying to schedule a meeting, and I would love if you would be involved, because we know we've talked about this. One of the things that we're looking at doing to help tenants and to help the landlords is we're going to put together a curriculum to do a tenant certification course. How to be a tenant, because you know when you get ready to buy a house, they have new home buyers classes. You go there, you learn what it is to be a home buyer, you learn all the things that are involved, you learn what your rights and responsibilities are as a buyer. You learn those things as a homeowner and what it takes to do those things, and then you get certified as that. So once you're certified as that and you've gone through those classes, you know what to expect from that experience. And so now you go forward and you can be successful, because that's the goal of the program, is that you're successful based on the training. So now no one ever has said to a tenant, let's train you how to be a tenant. Because most of us, when we grew up, once you reach a certain age, you go to school, you graduate, you go get your job or whatever. Now it's time for you to move on in life and get your own place. But you've never been trained how to be a tenant. How do I do this? What is this all about? How do I manage my expectations? How do I manage my budget? How do I search for housing that's within my budget without pushing myself to the very top of my margin?
Right, exactly.
Because you have to still live.
Right.
And so you didn't anticipate that part. And then there's always the mindset of the renter. We have to start changing the mindset of the renter. A lot of renters believe that, landlords, they have plenty of money. They can afford to wait for the rent. Then we don't worry about that. We don't have the money because Christmas, I could tell you a story. A friend, an associate of mine, she said that she told her landlord she couldn't pay the rent because her son was getting ready to graduate high school and she needed to buy XYZ ABC. Well, you knew he was going to be graduating high school and you knew you had to buy ABC XYZ. So it's called Let's Plan. Let's plan for that. Because what you don't understand is that maybe some of the bigger corporations, because we got a lot of corporate landlords, maybe they can afford to do those things because they write everything off and they get big deductions.
That's true.
You and I, mom and pop, can't afford it.
We can't
afford it. So if you don't pay the rent, and then also too, it gets them doubled down into a debt hole. I call it a sinkhole. You're in a debt sinkhole. If you miss 1 month, then the next month comes, you can't pay that previous month, and now you're into the next month. It's like a debt hole. And they don't understand that the late fees, they compound. So if you pay the late fee, I'll just pay the late fee. Okay, the late fee is $50. But every week until you pay that $50 is an extra $25. So you're getting deeper, deeper, deeper. So these are things that we want to put together as a curriculum and as a course to help people just getting out there becoming tenants, people who may have been tenants and may not have done it well and don't know what they may have done wrong and want to know what can we do to change the course of how we do this. And on top of that, it'll make it really good for potential tenants because we will be developing a pool of trained, certified tenants that landlords can select from. So now we don't have the landlords who are skeptical and afraid, and the minute someone calls, they're like, should I take this person? And I don't know, and let me look at your birthmark, and all kind of craziness because they're afraid. Because once you get this person in here, the judicial system is against you as the landlord. You can't get them out.
It's a process.
It's an absolute process.
It really is.
So I think that if we begin to look at homelessness, the homelessness crisis in its totality, and look at both sides of that same coin, not just the person who's housed in an unaffordable situation, but the person who can afford it and can't get housed. And then also too, we have to look at how are we working with homelessness. A lot of people we talk to, that don't want to even go to shelters. Why don't you want to go to the shelter?
Because some of them are horrible.
Some of them are horrible and they're dangerous.
Most of them, as a matter of fact.
They're horrible. They're dangerous.
They're
insufficiently staffed. There's a lot of things going on.
And
it's causing a problem.
And some would just rather live in the streets.
Absolutely.
As opposed to go to shelters, and some of them are being bullied. In there, they have no programs, so they're supposed to have programs to get them into housing, to help them with employment, or to help them with any mental health issues that they may have. And a lot of them are causing the mental health issues with them because of what they're going through.
And I think that one of the reasons that we're having these problems with people not wanting to go to the shelters is because there's no triage process. There are three, in my experience as a realtor and dealing with people looking for housing and helping people get apartments and helping people purchase properties, in my experience with dealing with people and talking to people like yourself and other people about the homelessness issue, I've discovered that there's three categories to homelessness. Some people are homeless for economic reasons.
Right.
I've lost my job,
Right.
my hours got cut, those kind of things.
Right.
So that's an economic homeless situation. Some people are homeless because they have mental health issues. So they need to have a facility where they can be with their mental issues can be addressed.
Right.
And they won't become a harm or a burden to someone else who doesn't have that issue.
Right.
The third one is drug addiction. And you know, we know
Yes.
plenty of people who they're homeless because of their drug addiction.
Exactly.
So these three categories have to be triaged. When you come to a center, they should be able to say, okay, we're going to take the people who are economically unhoused, they're going over here. The people who are have mental issues, they're going over here.
Yes.
And the people who have drug addiction issues, we have a facility for them over here.
Right.
So this way you're answering two questions at the same time.
Yeah.
You're getting them housed, even if it's temporarily,
Right.
and you're dealing with their issue.
Right.
So that means the person who's unhoused because of economics, you can help them, put them through a job program. There's a lot of jobs you can send them
Yes.
to, things of that nature, and they'll be fine.
Right.
Because that's a temporary situation, it's
Right.
a temporary state, and everyone in that facility is in there for the same reason.
Right.
So you don't have someone in there who's schizophrenic who may cause harm to someone like that. That's mixed in with people who, and they're not getting their treatment. And the same thing with drug addiction. You don't have someone who's in a facility with a schizophrenic person where the people have mental health issues, and now this person has a drug addiction, and he may harm them or they may harm him because of those things.
Exactly. Exactly.
So they need to be properly triaged, because I'm of the belief that in the city of Newark, we have lots of property that we can use for crisis intervention, which is one of my big pet peeves.
Yes.
Crisis intervention and housing of people. If you triage them properly, we can get these things done.
Right.
You know, and people come to me all the time as a realtor, and they say, we have these conversations, and they say, wow, some guy showed me a bunch of buildings. He was like, how come we can't put people in these buildings? What's going on with the city of Newark? These vacant buildings. And I've thought the same thing. The problem is not necessarily the building itself, because you can open the door to a building and let people go inside.
Right.
But who's going to pay for the consumables is the problem. The heat,
Right.
the lights,
Yeah.
the water, the sewer.
Right.
Who's going to pay for those consumables that that are cyclical? They're consistent. Who's going to pay for that? Because the mayor can do an executive order saying, "Hey, open those buildings over there and just let anybody who needs to be in there go in there."
Right.
But who's paying for the consumables?
Right.
But now I have spoken to people like yourself, my sister, other people who we're very concerned about how can we address this homelessness issue in a real way.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, well, instead of offering Section 8, for example, a voucher or something where you can go get into a place, but you still have to pay for your consumables.
Right.
Why don't we say the city of Newark has a building, they own it, so why don't we have the city of Newark contract with people like PSE&G and say, listen, instead of us subsidizing this housing for this person, we'll give them the housing for free, and you, PSE&G, subsidize the PSE&G. How about that?
Yeah.
So the PSE&G would be on a sliding scale. So this way, the city is giving you a temporary place to stay, let's say a maximum of 2 years. You don't have to pay any rent. PSE&G is going to give you your utilities on a sliding scale. So now, if you're a person who's working part-time at a farmer's market, or you're working part-time at Whole Foods or whatever, you only make a certain amount of money, your utility is going to meet you where your finances are.
Right. Okay.
And then we can
Yeah.
see, and then we can have the government to supplement that.
Right.
So it's like flipping the coin on the other side.
To help them to get into sustainable housing.
Absolutely,
Yes.
because like I said, some of the things that are the biggest problem are the consumables. And so if you have people who are homeless on the street, some of them, even though they're homeless, some of them have incomes. They get Social Security, SSI.
Yes,
Some
yes.
people do get some sort of stipend or a supplement, but it's not enough to pay for rent and the consumables and food and all of the things that go with that. And if you talk about a Section 8 or a SRAP waiting list,
Right.
I'll age 100 years by the time you get selected from one of those lists. In the meantime, if the city would just simply say, okay, we will provide the building, because they have plenty of them.
Yes.
We'll provide the building 2-bedroom apartments, 1-bedroom apartments. Let's say we have 200 of them citywide in various places.
Right.
We have 200 of them. That's 200 people off the street right now.
Exactly. And you know, what I do when I have clients to come in who's interested in training, you know, or mainly training, I have to assess them.
Yes.
To see if they are qualified.
Yes.
Right? And if they don't have a place to live, I can't help you.
No.
I have to help you to get housing.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing.
Absolutely.
You know? And because if we, let's say, for example, I say, okay, you can go to training, you're good. I'm setting them up for failure.
Yes.
You know, because if you don't have a place to live, it's going to be an issue.
Yes.
And then if you, all of us are going through something.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And if you have some type of issues, that's supposed to be addressed.
Yes.
You know, and that's why I have problems with these shelters, because they don't have the personnel.
No, they don't.
Inside.
They're woefully understaffed.
Yes, that's right, to help them with those issues. Because my thing is, like, if you're going into a shelter, they should help you to get employment. They should prepare you to get employment.
Right.
You know.
But once again, like I was saying, you know, I think that the shelter system has to be, the shelter systems in and of themselves have to be segregated categorically.
Yeah, but the triage.
Right, they have to be segregated categorically.
You're right. Okay.
And so this way, if you have a particular shelter where people are going who are just economically challenged, you can set up all kind of stuff there. You can actually have corporations come to the shelter.
Exactly.
And actually say, I'll take you and you, and I'll put you in a training program.
Right.
And then when you're done, I'll go on ahead and hire you.
Yes.
And so there's no fear of danger, or you're going to be harmed, or something's going to happen to you, because this is a different setup.
Right.
And likewise with the mental health issue, you have a mental institution where you can put people where they can get their proper medication. There are some people who are supposed to be on certain medications to stabilize themselves, and because they have no place to live, they're unsheltered, they don't take their medication.
Yeah.
They have there's no one supervising them to make sure that they get their medication so they can be stabilized.
Right.
A facility like that would address those issues.
Exactly.
Now, once the person's stabilized and you know those issues have been addressed and now they're stabilized, now we could look at, is employment another issue? And if so, let's address that then.
Right.
But they got to get stabilized first.
Exactly.
And the same thing with a drug addicted person.
Exactly.
A person with an addiction, if they're not stabilized and they don't have enough recovery that they can function, you can send them to any job you want to. They, you know, a lot of times, listen, when I worked in the public defender's office, I dealt with a lot of people going through the cycle. There was times where I myself have called facilities for to send someone there to get them cleaned so that they can go to a main facility.
Yes.
And they do the little 30-day outpatient process, and that fails and it's back again. It's another cycle.
Right.
They need a place where they can be housed, where it can be inpatient, and where you can get the treatment and the recovery right there in the same facility. Right.
I like that.
And then once you're stabilized, then let's talk about employment. Let's talk about education. Did you get your DED? Did you get your degree? Do you want to train for a skill?
Yes.
All those things can happen after you've been stabilized. But when you mix everybody into one bowl, it's like oil and water. They don't mix.
And don't forget, and remember, suppose they have children.
Yes.
And how that is impacting on the children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you know I live right around the corner from Weequahic High School.
Right.
And I was very surprised at the number of homeless children that go to Weequahic High School.
Yes.
Yeah, they're bussed in every day from the shelters to go to the high school.
Yep.
It has a deleterious effect on them emotionally,
Right.
spiritually, and educationally. It's very difficult for them to focus when they have housing insecurities.
Yes.
And so I would say that throughout the city of Newark, we have enough over on Irving Turner Boulevard. You see those around the corner, Summer Avenue. Was it Summer Avenue?
Yes.
That whole strip where it's all closed down.
Right.
Those buildings are strong buildings. I'm a realtor, I know. Those buildings are strong. They can be rehabbed, they can be put together, and you can use that facility alone to house families.
Yes.
Mother, father, children type homeless situation. So if mom, dad, and the children are homeless, okay, that facility is for families.
Yes.
Mom, dad, and children, or mom and children, or dad and children.
Right.
That's a family facility. So we have the spaces, but like I said, if we can get some sort of, if we can get some assistance and get some programming to be able to provide for the consumables, that takes care of half the problem right there. I'm sure that the city would have no problem giving us a building or giving one of the organizations in the city of Newark a building and say, okay, we're going to let you do shelter there on this for this category. We'll let you do shelter for that category. Like Kentuck, they have the halfway house. They would probably do well in putting together something like that for people who are in recovery.
Yeah. Well, Kentuck is another issue.
Yeah.
I won't get into that.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue. But something, I'm just saying, agencies that I know existed to do certain things.
Yes.
But like I said, it's a serious situation, and I believe that there are answers, but people have to care enough.
That's the bottom line.
They have to care enough to work them.
Yes.
You got to care enough to work them.
Yeah. Like it bothers me to see people in that position.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when they come and see me and they tell me, that bothers me.
Yeah.
You know.
And you know, I say to people that are in threat of losing their housing because they can't afford where they are, I tell anybody this. I tell everybody in America. If you are at threat of losing your apartment because you cannot pay the rent, don't listen to the street lawyers.
Yeah, right.
Do not listen to the street lawyers, because they're the first ones to tell you, oh, the landlord can't just put you out, they got to take you to court. And now, so that's what they're telling you. So you're going to force the landlord's hand to have to evict you. So now not only are you going to end up getting out anyway, now you have an eviction on your record. Now, where you going? See, this is not 1929, where you can get evicted over here and the next landlord doesn't know anything about it and you just keep it moving.
Right.
No, now there's a program called NTN, National Tenant Network. Every landlord, even the mom and pop ones, you use it, I use it, we've used it. And the National Tenant Network background check, it checks everything for the nation. You can leave an apartment being evicted in Georgia.
Yes.
It's gonna find it.
Right. And that stays on your record for a long time.
That stays on your record.
Yes.
So what happens is, even if it gets, because people say, oh, you can get that taken off of your credit report. You can get it taken off your credit report, but you can't take it out of the county record. It's in the county.
When they do a search,
when they do a county record search,
yes,
that's where it's going to come up in the county record.
And yes.
So I tell anyone, if you are at threat of losing your apartment, you know you can't pay the rent. You already know you can't pay it.
Right.
Okay. Just let the landlord know that you can't pay it and you're going to leave.
Right.
If you have to stay in a hotel,
Right.
if you have to stay in a shelter, if you have to couch surf, that's all right, because we all have been through some things. Okay, because I remember when I had to start all over again after being divorced, and I slept on the floor.
Right.
Okay, because I gave up everything I had, and I slept on the floor, and I had a job, paying good money. Okay, so no, everyone goes through something, but when you have to make a decision, you have to make a decision. The lesser of two evils. The lesser of two evils is get out those people's place immediately before they file eviction on you. Because once they file, even if the eviction doesn't go all the way through, if they make a filing, as a realtor, I have landlords that come to me that want me to find tenants for them. The minute I do the NTN and it comes back and it says do not rent because this person has a filing in the county for eviction, I can't present that to the landlord and say, here, take this person because I just checked them out and they're good.
Right.
They're not good because the paper says they're not good.
Right.
So what I look like as a realtor trying to refer that to a client that's paying me to find them a tenant.
Exactly.
I can't do it.
Right.
So that means all the people that are calling me, that are being referred to me to find them apartments, if this is what you have going on, I can't do anything for you. So I always tell them, leave. Just get out. Stay in a hotel. Stay in a sleazy hotel. I don't care, a motel.
Right.
Until you, because at least when you get yourself together, you can get an apartment with no problem. Because when they check your background, there's no eviction.
Right.
So you can go right on in. But I'm really hoping to, like I said, work with the housing authority so that we can put this program together to train people how to be tenants. Some people, especially young people, they don't know how to manage they don't know how to manage themselves if they have the money to pay the rent, or should I pay the rent or get Christmas for my child?
Right. Yes, that's true.
If you can only do one thing, one has to go.
Yes.
Sorry, Santa.
Right. Right.
I can't do you this year.
Exactly.
Because my child can't play with the toys on McCarter Highway on a park bench.
Right. That's right. That's
they need a place warm to live.
Yes.
And so these are things that we would teach people how to manage their how to manage themselves, how to manage their budget, how to get in where you fit in. Some people, they go out, they say, I'm going to get me a nice apartment. I want to live in a nice neighborhood. I have children. I don't want to live in, wherever. That's commendable.
Yeah.
Can you afford that?
Right.
For the long haul, can you sustain it? You might be able to get in because you got some assistance from this agency to put down the deposit.
Right.
You got some assistance from so-and-so to put down this and that. You got a good kickstart.
Right.
Can you sustain it for the long haul?
Exactly.
If you can't sustain it for the long haul, don't even do it. I always tell people, and I advise people, when you're looking to buy a property, always try to get something below what you're capable of right now. If you know you can pay $1,800 a month for an apartment and your job paperwork shows it, on paper you can do that.
Right.
You should be looking for an apartment for $1,500 a month.
Right.
Because this way come hell or high water, you can handle that $1,500.
Right.
Because based on your paperwork and based on your record, you can afford 18.
Right. Right.
And as a landlord, I apply that to my tenants because I don't charge high rent for my tenants. I like my tenants to be able to stay. I want them to have a healthy, clean place to live.
Right.
And I want them to enjoy the place. Go in the backyard, enjoy yourself, grill, have birthday parties.
Right.
Do whatever you want to do. People want to be able to live, not just survive.
Exactly.
So my tenants, if I come to them and they're presented to me and they say, okay, I looked their paperwork up, I looked the income, oh, this person can afford 21 for this 2.5 bedroom apartment.
Right.
Guess what I charge? 19. I'm not gonna charge 21. Even though the paperwork says they can afford that.
Right.
No, 19, that's fine. And not only 19, if you give me the rent on time every month, you pay me 17. So I bring it down even more.
That's nice.
So you pay me on time every month, by or before the 1st.
Right.
You knock off $200 off of that rent.
Right.
Every month.